This is Word Module 3, the textbook project, part 2. This is going to begin on 3-8. We're going to size and scale a graphic. There's so many different ways that you can do it. You just pick the one that you feel the most comfortable. So it tells us to click the graphic over here, and it's selected. And we have the sizing handles. And it's going to tell you to drag it in. And notice how it squishes it. So that's never really a good idea to do. You should always, if you want it proportional, you should click in the upper corners, one of them, and hold the shift key down. However, I'm not a big fan even of that. I much rather would go into the sizing manually. And let's just make sure that the lock aspect ratio is there, and we're going to change this to 2 inches. Now hit the tab key. Notice that as soon as I did, it changed them both to 2. And it's giving us a height of 27%. That's relative to the actual picture size. So bear that in mind. In our next step, we're going to get rid of this checkbox here. So now we have a picture. It's a little bit smaller, looks a little bit better. So now we need to change it to 50% of it. So I'm going to go back into this here. Now if I were to leave this here, 50% of it's going to actually make it bigger. So I need to get rid of this checkbox here. And then when I do 50%, it should change it to 1 and 1. Because that would be 50% of 2. So let's see what happens. And it did. That worked. Now nothing's changed until I click on OK. So now we're done there. So that looks good over here. So we've done number 4 and number 5. And number 6 is good. So we have a 1, 1, 1. Then it tells us to position it to the top right. Now normally you can do positioning several different ways. But here there's an actual position. So we want to do top right. So that takes care of this. And then we're going to move it down a bit. So now we need to position it again, but we want it to be 0.6 inches. Absolute. So we're going to click on position and more layout positions. And we don't want the horizontal. We want the vertical. And we want absolute. And we're just going to put in 0.6. And that will move it down a bit. So that looks good. So we have this here showing what it should look like, and that pretty much looks like what we have, other than the fact that it's a different picture, which we have no control over. So that takes care of this, and we need to do a reflected rectangle. Now as soon as we do the reflected rectangle, it's going to get a little bit changed in here. So we want to go to Picture Styles. And we need to find reflected rectangle, which I believe is this. So it changes it a bit in here. So you can play around with different things in here. You could put a picture border around or some other things in here. But we're not going to do that since it'll mark us off. Okay, now we're going to draw shapes. We're going to do I believe a cloud and a rectangle. And then we're going to actually change the cloud to a callout. So we're going to scroll until Career Connections is on top, which it now is. And we're going to click and bam, we want to do a cloud icon, and we want to put it down by JCL and make it 1:2. So we're going to click on Insert, and we're going to click on Shapes. And here is our cloud icon. Notice that there's a plus sign here. So we're going to go by JCL. It says it wants it to be approximately 1 inch high. So we'll go down 1 inch about, and 2 inches wide. And that's just a guess. So let's go into the size here and just make it. Now make sure the lock is not checked there. So we'll do 1 and then 2. And click OK. So now we have a nice cloud in here. And it looks like this. So now we're going to go into the shape styles and make it a colored fill green. So here's our shape styles. And I believe it wants this one here. Colored green accent 6. Yes, that looks really nice. Then we're going to type in 0.8 and 1.2. So let's go in here, make sure it's not checked. 0.8 and 1.2. And then we're going to go to Shape Effects Preset 5. So here's Shapes Effects Preset 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So 3, 4, 5. All right, there we go. Finally got it. So it looks nice. It's got that little effect in here. Then we're going to click the Wrap Text button and click Type. So this is here, and we want Type, which should be this one here. So now the text is separate, and we're going to add text, and we're going to type in Great Idea. So I'm going to right-click, choose Add Text, and Great Idea. And notice that it doesn't have the bubble effect that it had before, but once you click outside, it will be fine. So we have that one. We're going to deselect it, so now you can see it's back. And it tells us to save our document. So now we are going to text edit a shape. It shows us over here. And then we're going to take a look at the correcting pictures, changing colors, and applying artistic effects. So I highly recommend that you look at that. It also tells you how to add alt text in there on how to do things. So you can take a look at that in there. So basically you're going to select the image, and there's an alt text command in the accessory group in here. So, we're not going to be, so here's the alt text if you want to add it right there. We're not going to have to do it right here, but alt text is important for people that have screen readers, and it'll say picture of a cloud saying great idea or something to that effect. So that takes care of that section. We're now on back to number 1. We're going to scroll down to social media at the top of our screen, and it tells us to choose a rectangle. So we're going to insert a rectangle shape. Now this time we're not going to draw it. It tells us to click anywhere, let's see, in the sizing in here, click anywhere, draw a rectangle below the social media heading. So let's go, let me insert that in here, point to draw a rectangle below the social media heading. So we've drawn it here, and that takes care of that one in here. We're going to add text, and it wants us to be 0.6 and 1.2. This one we draw. The next one we're going to just click. So we're going to add text, and we're going to type in Genius, and we need to make it 0.6 and 1.2. That takes care of that. Then it says we need to move it to the right top. So we're going to take this, and you'll see green guides in here. So here's our guides. This is the right margin here, and you'll see top here. So that looks good. And yes, it's still overlapping. That's okay. We're going to scroll up to both ones are visible. So there's both visible in here, and we're going to actually use the format painter to give it this green kind of crazy thing, but it won't change the shape. So I'm clicking here. I'm going to go to Home and click on the format painter, and then I'm just going to click here, and notice that it changed to the same type of format, but of course it didn't change the actual rectangle itself. That was number 4. So now we're going to actually change the shape here. So we have it selected. We're going to go to Shape Format, and we're going to go to Edit Shape and Change Shape, and it wants us to change it to a cloud. I'm just making sure that we're changing it to the right one. Okay, so let me just read this here to make sure I'm doing the right one. Edit shape and change it to a cloud. Okay, so now we're going to select the Great Idea cloud, and we're going to change it to a thought bubble, which is in the call out section. So here's call outs, and this is a thought bubble. And notice the little yellow thing that you have in here, and we're going to drag that down a bit. So it gives it a little bit more bubbly effect. There we go. So that looks good here. And let's see if there's anything else on this one here. So then it goes into a section about enhancing graphics with styles and effects. So I suggest that when you get done, you play with these things and on your own. So that is all of that. And I believe we have 2 more to go. So we're going to arrange graphics in here. So we're going to scroll down to upcoming conferences at the top of your screen, which is right here. And we're going to go to Insert tabs, and we're going to do 5 stars in here. So let's go to Insert, and we're going to go to Shapes, and here is Stars, and 1, 2, 3, 4. Here is 5 points. So now it just tells us to click somewhere that there is not anything. Click anywhere in page 2. So just click here, and it will insert a star 1 inch in here. So we're good there. Then we want to make 2 copies of it. So I'm hitting Control C, Control V, and Control V. So now you have overlapping stars. And then we're going to drag each of the stars to a position. So let me see where they want it. They want it through this area here. So we're going to move. That's 1, 2, and 3. And that takes care of that. We're going to click the first star here, and we're going to change it to green accent 6. So I believe this is green accent 6. Done. And the second one will be gold 4, which I believe is this. Gold 4. And we're leaving the third blue one alone. So this is what we should look like. And we do. Select the green star, position the center over the yellow jet, and drag it up about 1/8 of an inch. So we're going to drag this up, and that'll make it a little bit wider. So we can drag it up just a bit. And then we're going to drag this one down just a bit. That might be a little too much. All right, so yeah, this is a little bit more. All right, so that might be not enough, but we'll do it for right now. And so now we have to select the green star, and we're going to rotate it to the left about 1/4 of an inch. So this is the rotation handle. Just drag it a little, and we're going to do the right star to the right just a little. So this looks good. Now notice that you have rotate here as well. So here's rotation options, that what you can do. So you can mess around with these things, but it gives you degrees in here. So you can play around with different things if you like. All right, so now we're going to position the stars so they overlap each other. So we're going to do, we have the green, and we have this here. Notice that it is actually behind in here. So in the picture, it shows it as green on the bottom, yellow in the middle, and blue on top. So what I'm going to do here is I'm going to click on the green one, and I'm going to send it backwards. So now the yellow is on top. Now I'm taking the blue one. Let's see where this is. So the blue one right now is below it. So I'm going to bring this forward. And now we're good. So it says select the gold star and bring forward and bring to front. So we need to select the forward because it wants that one on here. So let's do the drop down arrow and we'll bring to front. And now we'll put it on top of everything. So let me move this over a little and move this up a little and move this up a little to position it to what the picture looks like. So now we're going to select all three of them. Now sometimes you can actually click and drag to select them, but not in this particular case. So I'm clicking Control on all three of these. And what we're going to do is group them. So we're just going to go into Shape Format, and we're going to group. So that makes it as one big group. So if I move one, they all move. Whatever you do, it's just as if it's one object. But you can ungroup them if you want. Then we're going to change the shape height and width. So let's go in here and do it from here. The height is going to be 1 and the width 1.2. So 1 and 1.2. And that takes care of this. So now we're going to position top right with square text wrapping. So let's go to position and let's see. In the shape height back position, enter position, button arrange group in here. So let's try this again. So now we have the group. Somehow I've gotten an individual one. And let's go, and we've got top right with square position. So that looks good. And now we're going to do some smart art graphics. And they're really kind of neat. So we need to go down to where the organizational chart is here. And it wants us to do a organizational chart style. So we're going to click on Insert, and we're going to go into Smart Art, and then we're going to go to Hierarchy, and we need to find the organizational name chart. So that can give you a name and a title. So that takes care of this. So now a type text in the very top one. We're going to type in Dawn LaPointe. And let me change this to a capital D. And she is the director, I believe. So we're going to type in director. So that takes care of number 3. Number 4, click the blue box below and to the left, and we're just going to delete this one. So now we have Dawn and 3 below it. So then we're going to add shape below and then add shape again. So you could right click here and choose add shape below if you want. Or, you can, there's different ways that you can do the same thing. So here's our Smart Art Design. You can click on add shape here and it automatically adds shapes. And then I'm going to click on add shape again and it should add it to the right, which it did. So you can always do the drop down arrow and you can get the same things in here. But without it, it kind of senses what you want to do, which is okay. So we've done number 4. Now we're going to click on change colors in here. So here's our change colors. It wants us to do colorful. And I believe it's the very first one in colorful. And then we're going to go to Smart Art Styles and choose Polished, which I believe is this one. There's Polished. So that looks kind of neat. I really like that. So now it tells us to click the orange box and change the shape fill to green accent. So here's our orange. So we're just going to click in it. And we can go very easily to change the colors. So this is going to affect the actual colors itself. But what we want to do is we want to change the fill. So if it's not here, go to Format, and here's our shape fill. And I think it wants green accent 6. So that takes care of this. And then we're just going to type the rest of the information in here. So Ron Zepp, and he's VP Marketing. And she's VP Sales. Good old Ruby. And VP Product. Almost done. So this looks good. And it tells us to do view multiple pages. And this is what it should look like. So hopefully we did. Obviously the picture in the beginning is not the same, but everything looks pretty good. So that is everything. So I'm hoping this was helpful for you. And as always, I'll be happy to take any questions.